Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your
hosts,
Mike.
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic.
I saw a funny meme.
Did you?
Yes.
What the meme did it say?
Well, it basically said it wonders when California is going to change the name from San Andreas fault to Trump's fault. And, just kind of goes with the current day news of no matter what happens, it's always the other guy's fault. And I mean,
I feel like that's a funny thing that we should put on a t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we came up with the idea of thought merch. And if you give it a little thought about the merch, no pun intended, actually fully intended. But no, seriously, when you think about what we're doing, we're trying to make people think and be like, I don't know, maybe a little edgier.
We really want people to either be maximum offended or like enthralled that they're going to offend other
totally
people.
Down with it. Yeah,
one
exactly.
Or the other.
Right. And it's okay if you love some and hate some and whatever. We don't care. But thoughtmerch.com, it's our like little
pet project
outlet, and it's like a pet project, and it's like a thing of love. We're not making money off of this, not yet anyway. And so I mean, it's cost us more than we're going to make, I'm sure, but it's fun and it's an outlet for creativity, because now we're going to ramp up content creation for that brand, like me in t-shirts, you in shirts and whatnot. And we just do crazy things. And, maybe one of the trending stupid TikTok dances or something, I would do one, why not? Some old guy with purple hair on top right after I do my haircut and I get my hair done. I got that purple hair up there and I'm pushing 60 years old.
Of
course, people are going to be like, whoa.
There's this girl and she stands like on her feet and then she bends backwards until her hands are on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then she walks her hands forward until they're parallel with her feet. And then she folds herself back over and stands up. Like she goes through her legs and stands back up. It was terrifying.
That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
It sounds horrifying. Like it would be scary to watch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you don't expect somebody to be that flexible.
And what I was watching was she made a reel instead of a TikTok, and she was saying, let's see if I can do it without stretching. She could not.
I was gonna say I doubt it.
Right.
If she's got to limber up first, but still, it's crazy. But it kind of shows you the kind of drama that can happen from social media just in general, not just, I can't even pick a platform because it happens everywhere.
Yep.
And it's nothing but drama. Seriously, it is. It's almost like social media has become like all of ours worst side, where we're back to acting like little teenagers in high school. Seriously, I feel that way about it.
My new Twitter account is definitely my worst side, but it's also my funniest side.
Well,
no names being shared, people. None at all.
Yes. Not going to share. But in any event, that's what it feels like sometimes. Like, high school drama, baby. So, I heard you found something talking about drama.
Yeah, you found memes. I found an Am I the Asshole?
Oh, here we go. One of our favorite things to do, people, is for Torya to find one of these Am I the Assholes from Reddit, and for me to sit here and listen. And I'm allowed to interrupt if I need to.
Correct.
But I actually think we should talk about limiting me to only having 3 interruptions total.
You're pretty good. I don't think we need to limit you.
Yeah, I try not to use it if I don't need
Usually
it.
you don't interrupt me at all.
But then at the end, I'm going to say who I think the asshole is, if anybody. And I'm going to tell you why I think they're the asshole too. So let's listen in.
Okay, so full disclosure up front, this person writes like a deranged 8-year-old. So I will try to correct her writing as I read it.
Oh, what? Wait a second. Wait, what? A deranged 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So we're listening to an unhinged 8-year-old's writing, essentially.
Correct, but she's
All
female
right.
29, so problems.
Yeah. Wow.
So I am female 29. My parents divorced when I was about 10 years old, and I have had no contact with my father after a year because he made the choice to prioritize his new family, his stepson, who is now 33, and eventually his children with the new wife, over my brother and I. So she said no contact with her father since she was 11, to clarify the confusion in that paragraph.
Okay, thank you.
No visitation after he got remarried at all. When we called to ask when he was going to visit us, he would just say that he was busy. Before the divorce, I was literally daddy's little girl, his beloved golden child, no joke. I thought my father was the best, and I wanted to marry a man like him when I grew up. So the fact that he just dropped my brother and me has caused a deep-seated wound deep in my heart, which I will never ever forgive him for causing. See what I mean about the deranged 8-year-old? And I'm correcting some of it. So the fact that he just dropped my brother and me has caused a deep-seated wound deep in my heart, which I will never forgive him for causing. He never paid child support, so my mother had to support my brother and I as a single mom. She decided not to take him to court as she never wanted anything to do with him again. She didn't want to risk having 50-50 custody. However, 18 years is a long time, and thanks to my mother's love and care for us, I have already forgotten about him and moved on with my life. Same goes for my brother. We have both grown up to live comfortably in our lives, take care of our mother, and love her to no end. The story is that this morning, his stepson, who's now 33, as mentioned before, contacted me via Facebook and said he wanted to talk to me regarding our father. And I was confused at first, and then remembered that yes, I had someone like that in my life. He told me that our father has a medical condition and treatment costs a lot, sent together with screenshots of his medical reports, and it would be nice if we could pay his bills, and also that my father wanted to speak to my brother and I. I told him that the man lost the rights to be my father when he decided not to have any contact with us, and also that his father's medical bills are none of my concern. So as his children, you shouldn't go around harassing random people for money. Also, all of those years of unpaid child support could be used to cover his medical expenses. After all of this, he called me a vengeful and heartless bitch, to which I just replied with a smiling emoji and blocked his ass. I talked to my mom about this, and she said, well, I have the right to be angry with him. He's still my father, and he's unwell, so I could help them out a bit. I told her, no way in hell am I going to pay for his bills. He has his children to pay for it, so let them settle it. He made his bed, now let him sleep on it. Was I the asshole here?
Well,
It's a lot to unpack, huh?
This is a hard one. It's so hard.
Super difficult.
my mind has been made up since probably 10 seconds into the entire
When
conversation.
you heard that he abandoned his daughter at 10 years old?
Yeah. You can't come back and have your first contact in how many years? 13 years? 18 years? Oh, by the way, he's got this illness, and let's do this. Because you know what? Remember how old did they say the step sibling was? 30 something, right?
And she's 29, and her brother is younger.
So at what point couldn't he have been an adult and reached out to these family members if he really cared?
Because he clearly had a relationship with a previous child, skipped the two in the middle, and then had a relationship with his new children.
Uh-huh.
I know that's kind of hard to decipher because, again, she writes like a deranged 8-year-old, but...
You weren't wrong about that.
And I corrected a lot of it, man. Anyway. Right? Like, the father is very clearly an asshole, but have you considered the angle that the stepson is also a really big fucking asshole?
Yeah. I actually was going to say that. The father and the stepson...
Birds of a feather.
Were assholes.
Yeah.
I mean, who does that to somebody? Oh, I know he hasn't talked to you in a billion years, but bills. So what?
Right.
Not my problem. He didn't help me with my bills.
Right.
He didn't help my mom with her bills.
He didn't
I mean,
help
it's
pay
kind
for
of
college. None of it.
it's kind of karma, right? Like
Right.
you get back what you put out. He put out nothing, he gets back nothing.
Well, I feel okay. She was very clear that her and her brother take very good care of her mother because her mother
Yes.
paid for their life when they were
Right.
teenagers. She probably either helped them or put them through college.
Right. It's not a situation of, oh, these people are slackers and they don't bother to take care of their parents.
That's not necessarily what I was going to say, but it's also true. And what I was getting at is they're giving back what was given to them. Why should they treat him any differently? He gave nothing to them except DNA.
Well, you said exactly what I said, only in a more eloquent way, because I literally said that.
That's what you meant?
Yeah, that
Okay.
that like he doesn't have a right to ask for anything because he didn't help with anything. He didn't help pay mom's bills or the kids' bills.
Right.
So why would the kid have to pay his bills?
Right.
You get back what you give. I mean, what does the Bible say? You reap what you sow. Well, there you
Right.
go. I mean,
I know a kid who's now like 21-ish, and his dad stopped being there for him when he was about 2 or 3 and like brought Christmas and birthday presents and literally nothing else for the rest of his life. And I would not be surprised if he feels the same way as this girl does if his dad were to ever reach out to him.
probably.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Can't say that I blame this girl for being mad.
No. Oh, no.
And you know what? I bet you, if the dad were to have come to her and tried to make amends all these years later, there was no like ulterior motives behind it, that her reaction wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I don't necessarily know that she would have forgiven him because I know really nothing about her other than the fact that she writes like a deranged 8-year-old.
Well,
But
and
I think her
remember,
reaction
you're
would
also
have been
only
different.
you're also being given a sliver of
Right.
time. I mean, who knows what the total history looks like with those people?
Right.
I've learned a long time ago.
There's a lot more story.
I've learned a long time ago, don't assume you know everything just based off of one person's story, because you don't know everything. Well, that's interesting. Then we agree that the stepson also, because see, to me, he's the asshole because I mean they stress in the story. To me it gets stressed that like it stands out when I heard it. Oh, he's 33 years old.
And she said it
The
multiple times.
The stepbrother is 33 years old. So, all right, maybe when he was 21, 22, he wouldn't care. But then you start thinking, dad's getting older. We need to mend this fence. Let me reach out to them.
Right.
And this guy never did that. He only did it for one reason and one reason only. He wanted money.
Right. Let this be a lesson to all the people out there who want to make amends with someone. Don't wait until you're dying and need something from them to do it.
Right. I think it's interesting though, because you usually see the responses. Did anyone else like kind of point out that it's him too? The dad and the stepson?
Unfortunately, this is an Am I the Asshole reposted by Dipley, and they are notorious for not linking to the original
All
post.
right, no worries. I just wondered because, that makes me curious, like how many other people feel the same way, because somebody else has to feel the same way.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that the conclusion overall is that the dad is an asshole. I'm sure like 80% of people think the stepbrother's an asshole too. And then I'm sure that there's 10% of people who think she's an asshole because he's dying and you're his blood and you should do your thing. You should
do your thing. Yeah.
And I don't think that blood is a reason to be disrespected.
You're right.
I have a good family, okay? Both biological and adopted.
Yeah. But you're not going to take a disrespectful
right.
treatment like that.
Right.
From anybody. And I mean, that's how it should be.
I was just trying to clarify for people that I'm not coming from a biased background.
Right. Well, right. I mean, I don't know. It's always interesting to see what you think about it. And it turned out that I thought I had said clearly something that I only was clear in my head, I guess. But then when you said it, I was like, well, yeah, that's exactly what I said.
We come from very different life situations.
Yes.
So seeing things about moms and dads, we probably see very differently.
Different but alike.
We always come to the same
The
conclusion.
major difference is you had a dad that was around some of the time.
Well, to clarify what you just said, my dad worked shift work.
Right. So he was around
He was
some
gone
of
for
the
4
time.
days, and he was there for 4 days.
Right. So he was there some of the
Right.
time and not some of the time.
He wasn't like in partially absentee.
Right.
Huge.
No, he was always there, but that's how it worked.
The Russell is fantastic, and we must love him.
Yes, we do. But there you go. Like, he wasn't there some of the time.
Right.
So.
Right. And you kind of didn't have anybody at all.
Right.
For the most part.
I just had my mom.
Right.
I was there.
Right.
So, in your case, at least half the time it was just you and your mom. But see, you even had your brother.
Not really. Being 10 years older than me, by the time I was a functioning human being, he was busily off with his own life.
Well, and you know what's interesting about that, though? I can relate to that because my sister is 10 years older than me.
Right.
And then my brother's 8 years older than her. So I can totally relate.
So when you were little, they were mean, nasty teenagers.
Yeah.
And by the time you were old enough to be interesting,
then they were
gone.
just like gone. Yeah. And like you to see them at the occasional baseball game. They would show up.
Right.
To see me.
Right. And at holidays and whatever.
Yeah. Because they all had kind of moved on. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And I remember it well. It's kind of interesting that you would say that, but I remember it really well.
Yeah.
Remember it like it was yesterday. But in any event, that's where I think the interesting part starts and stops, though, is like
we come from very different backgrounds, but we usually come to the same conclusion about people.
Yeah.
In this situation.
And I think it's because my mom had very similar values to your mom. And because you spent a lot of time with your mom.
Yeah.
And you even told me in a lot of situations, your dad kind of like, not acquiesced, but like.
Oh, he was just the discipline.
He would allow your mom to handle the situation any way she wanted to.
Right.
And I don't mean allow as in she needed his permission. I just mean he didn't step in and get involved. He was just like, cool. He would get involved if he felt he needed to, but otherwise he's not going to fight the battles he doesn't need to fight, which is smart. I mean, I think that's good for a man or a woman in a relationship to do.
I'm going to start what I'm about to say by this never actually occurred. It was just a threat. And I was a child of the 90s, not woke folk era. My mother would lay down the law that I was in trouble. And the only participation my dad would have is, I'm going to turn you upside down and whale your ass. One time he got a hold of my ankle.
I could hear him saying that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's just funny.
Do you see why I had to give the the disclaimer at the beginning?
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
That's funny stuff though.
Yeah.
Like really funny stuff. But
it's funny now, but it was terrifying then.
Well, yeah, he's not a small man.
No, he's 6'3".
Yeah, I mean, he's a big man. He'd be somebody to be scared of.
He was an industrial worker for his whole life.
Yeah, he was like, a tough guy.
Yep.
He's a big old teddy bear, but
yeah, he's a big old marshmallow. But I didn't know that when I was a child.
Well, exactly, and that's why I think children sometimes they get uber affected by what people say or do. That's like that story that Alyssa told us. Remember about she used to think when we would take Matthew to hockey practice, and she used to think that I was actually going to eject him from the car seat because I'd tease him and I'd be like, Matthew, if you don't stop arguing with your sister, I'm going to hit the eject button.
Right.
And she legit thought that he was going to get ejected. Like she was waiting for it and getting upset.
Yep.
And you don't realize that kids are going through that.
Right. That's the same thing. Like I was convinced that if I didn't behave myself, he was going to turn me upside down and whale my ass.
Yeah.
Really, he probably would have just stood up and I would have run away.
Yeah. Just the threat of it.
The threat of it was enough.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But that's how kids grew up.
Yep.
In my era too.
Yeah.
We grew up that way.
I grew up a lot more like a child of the 80s than of the 90s, honestly.
Yeah.
I fit better with the Gen X than the Gen millennial.
You're right. You're right. A lot of the things we've talked about, my opinions were formed like right before I graduated high school, like 1983.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1983. So that's when my opinion was formed. That's a long time ago, you
Right.
know, and I try to hear what other people have to say and maybe change my opinion on those kind of things. But so far, no one's changed my opinion on any of those things. So, well.
Right.
But back to the Am I the Asshole? So was there any other drama that went along with that, or was that it?
That was it.
All right, good. Well, then I guess we can leave that horse to lead it out to the pasture there, because it's done.
Yep.
That horse. So, all right, cool.
It's done. I'm tired. You look kind of tired.
You're tired.
Good night,
Yes.
everyone.
Hasta la bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.